It feels very precious when you see a deer all the time. And you have to be very gentle to them, and it feels like a very fragile moment. But also that they kill more people than any other animal in the United States. They're like the most deadliest animal there is because we hit deer. And that's just so strange. Yeah, so one day my friend Evan called me, and he told me, I'm feeling terribly depressed. I need to just get out of here. I want to hit the road and go as far as we can. I said, all right, I'll go with you. We get in the car and we just drive. We were up in Massachusetts at the time. And we're on the road for maybe 10, 11 hours. And by the end of the day, we're in North Carolina. We're in the back country. All of a sudden we emerge in the scene of this accident. And I'll never know exactly what I saw, but I saw first responders wandering back and forth along the road. I saw an ambulance with red lights flashing, puddles of gasoline everywhere, a crumpled car. But it happened so quickly, and I saw it so fast that I didn't really get a chance to process it. It haunted both of us. So when I got back to Providence, where I was living at the time, I sat down and I just kept thinking about it, and I wrote and rewrote this paragraph over and over and over again, and started to discover this voice that was very tender and very broken and very fragile, that had been struck by this accident, and that became the voice that was the protagonist for the deer. His name's Henry Haverford. He's a physicist. In this novel, he's just come back from a conference. He has a tense relationship with his father, to say the least, who has just passed away. He's coming back for his father's funeral. And he's a smart person, but also someone who's analytical to a fault, and is often trying to describe things in simple terms, but fails to find the words to do so. In this novel, at least, he's dread embodied. You know, it's just me at my full of my most dread and most worried and most concerned. I feel like Henry Haverford, absolutely.
Do you drive? Has this changed like your relationship to the automobile at all?
That's a great question. I think I'm like scared of driving for sure. Yeah, I think it's the most rational fear there is to be scared of driving. Because every day, I mean, just today driving from New York City, because I had a reading there last night, it's perilous, you know, like you're not focused for one moment and you're always like slingshotted back. And if you look away for just a second, you can get in a crash. It can be, I mean, catastrophic. It could change your entire life. The dread described in the deer is familial, for the most part, for sure. It's about experiencing loss and feeling separated from the ones that we love, and also being like abused by the ones that we love. I look at the deer as being there's a sense of dread, but to me, like a sense of deep beauty in that dread. So, you know, it's scary in that there's a kind of like pervasive doubt which could really grip you if you lean into it. We live in a world, in particular nowadays in the United States, where we're less open to accepting other viewpoints and less willing to embody uncertainty than ever. I think in particular this is a book which really draws attention to the fact that we only know as much as what's directly presented to us, and that's okay, and that can be great beauty in that, and metaphor and spirituality and poignancy without having this incredible degree of certainty, which I think is degrading. I think, you know, we're living in a world where there's more information than ever, and it's harder than ever to get like kind of clear narrative answers for things we're wondering about. Who's this book for? It's pretty squarely a work of experimental fiction, so certainly fans of docu-archive and of experimental fiction are most likely to read it. I think it's definitely for people who have experienced familial trauma of some kind. And I think it's for anyone that's just sort of excited about the possibilities of language and poetry and these other things which draw attention to the way that we speak and the world around us. So if that excites you, if you're kind of excited by the possibilities of perception and philosophy and thinking about characters and familial trauma, perhaps you'll enjoy The Deer. Lights 1, The Accident. There were no deer. This I mutter under my breath. Hear the frogs push slow, cascading bubbles through their throats. The tall, wet grass bowed before the black river. Splintered rungs on the peeling trunk of an old oak. There were no deer.